everybody, Kristin Marion for Vue International sur le jazz. We are in Annecy in France, and I am with my best friend, Joanne Peacock. She's a singer too. And we are very, very happy to interview you. Okay, it's Joanne Peacock from Switzerland and London. And we welcome the American vocalist we have online and this beautiful showwoman, Veronica Swift. Veronica Swift, cuckoo, hello.
Hello.
So my question is about that special language, the scat singing. Your scat is really incredible, and can you tell me more about at what age did you start the scat singing, and what about your relation with the harmony and okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying earlier, it's like a language, music, like as cliche as it sounds, what I mean by music being a language, when we're speaking a language, there's words, there's sentences, and there's phrases, and the same thing with music. The notes are like the words, and the musical phrases are like the sentences. And when you learn how to speak language at an early age, like whatever, 3 or 4 years old, you're mimicking what you hear, like mama, dada, phone. You like, the sounds and the shapes first are what you grab onto. And that's the same thing. You may not understand like the harmony as a singer, especially. You may not have to, in the beginning, understand the harmony or the chords or the theory, but you can hear certain things like voice leading and like, oh, like that sounds like the tonic of the chord. That sounds like the one chord, and that's a musical phrase that would fit over the one. Learning at an early age, you're just mimicking what you hear. So you hear, that's like a nice line. Oh, I like that line. That I hear that in a lot of other solos. If you listen to enough, like Charlie Parker and Dizzy, and then Chet Baker, and then Bix Beiderbecke and Ben Webster, you start to hear certain phrases that these people like tend to use, right? That's their own language that they develop through years of listening and trying out what they're hearing. And when you transcribe, is really like, there's no secret to learning how to do this. I mean, you're transcribing is the best possible way to obtain that language, because what you're doing is getting into the mind of that soloist. And singers should not just only transcribe. Transcribing singers is all well and good. We love Ella, we love all those solos, but we're really going to get what we need language-wise from the instrumentalists, solos, not just horn players, rhythm section players, transcribing piano. I know we can't sing chords, but try to identify what the melody note is in a piano solo or whatever. If he's playing, he or she's playing chords, identify what the melody note is in that chord as best you can. Transcribing bass lines, transcribe drum patterns. Even though you're not singing, you can sing with, pitchless with your mouth. And we're not just transcribing notes here, we're transcribing articulations. That's, pitch inflection or rhythmic inflection, just like when we talk, ba ba boo be da, ba ba doo be da, right? Trying to think of every angle of speech here and storytelling. So at an early age, at 9 years old, that's when I started to sing that. I didn't really know what I was singing theory-wise. I was just around it. My father, great bebop piano player, Hot O'Brien, was just playing a blues one day, and I didn't want to scat because I was scared to. Sounds silly. We all have that in the beginning, even me. But he basically was like, "You're not leaving until you sing a chorus." So he was just playing. I can play the blues all day, and he was just playing chorus after chorus after chorus until I just went bop, do da. And then that in itself is a hip solo, because it's like saying, less is more kind of thing. So you learn from your younger self. So yeah, that's when I started, but hopefully that answers your question.
What do you think about Clark Terry, the memble? When he membles?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's important to be humorous too, like not take yourself too seriously, because a lot of, especially like jazz musicians in academia, in the schools, they take themselves way too seriously, and we've forgotten about how to have fun with this and make fun of yourself. And I think Clark Terry, he really like kind of made literally a language. It's like, that's how if you want to like start getting singers into scatting, just don't worry so much about theory, get into the speech pattern of it. Like Clark Terry, that's a perfect example of how a good way to get into if you want to like help a singer get into it, like just to show them like, don't worry so much about the musical theory stuff. Just start with speech patterns.
So the big question I have is it essential then for singers to learn the theory at some point? I know you spent a lot of time you talk about ear training and being in choirs and everything you do for your ear, and then the theory of clearly is that, I mean, it always going to start with the listening, but is that a necessary tool as well?
Oh no, of course. I'm not saying that's not a necessary tool. I'm saying, yeah, like in the beginning to get somebody going. But when once you've been transcribing, you've got to, I mean, let's say we have to ask, are we talking about theory in terms of how to write out music or how to play a note, like how to play piano? That's basic theory. Yes, you got to have that obviously to start, understanding what it is you're hearing. I've found that the theory has proven, for me, the theory proved helpful in the beginning because I was already singing this stuff, but the theory was there to show me what it is I was already hearing. That was the first step for me. I didn't know how to write charts until maybe, like, I wasn't able to really understand how to write charts and hear. I could hear and sing a chord. Anybody can, if you play a chord on the piano, like a major triad, for example, most of us hear all those notes and sing them, ba, ba, ba. But I wasn't able to make the connection in my brain how to write that for some reason on sheet music until well into my like sophomore year of college even. And then once that happened, I was able to unlock the whole rest of what I was missing theory wise. So I find like it's like a balancing act between like identifying what you're hearing, and that's the first step in jumping into the world of theory. And then once you know that kind of theory, you've taken lessons, you've taken courses, whatever it is you have to do to get that knowledge, then you can use it as a tool to then develop your ear further. But I think the ear comes first, really, because that shows you where you're at,
Okay. When you was in Annecy, you sang a beautiful melody, and I think you wrote lyrics, of course, based on Beethoven music. It was on classical music. Can you tell me more about your love for the classical, the bel canto?
Oh yeah, I mean, I grew up in the jazz world. My parents that was the music that was in the house. That was not music that I gravitated towards. It was just, and I still don't. It's just like, it's just a part of who I am, but it's not the music that I go to listen to per se. The music that I was firstly obsessed with, just I wanted to learn everything I could about it, was Baroque music, opera and instrumental music, and then that beget, made its way to like classical era, then romantic era, and of course like the great all eras of classical music, impressionist. When I say classical, I don't just mean that period, Mozart and Haydn. I'm talking about the whole umbrella term, classical music. That's the first love for me. Jazz music is a relationship, familial, metaphorically and literally. It's my familial relationship to the music. But my passionate love affair was first classical music and orchestral music and opera. That's because I love theater. Theater is, storytelling is what I say I do. I don't call myself a jazz singer at all. I hate calling myself any kind of rock or jazz singer. I'm just a storyteller. And whatever medium it is, classical music or songwriting or jazz, scatting to tell stories, I like it all. And so I wanted to, I actually always loved hearing. What I love to do is play Dr. Frankenstein with music, with songs. How I personally like to cover songs or, perform someone else's music is to redo it completely as if it was my own. But still, the challenge is to pay homage, right? So with the Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, that of course, do 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 do. I always heard, what if you put like an old 60s like Ray Charles or Aretha Franklin kind of arrangement to it, 1960s Motown orchestral music, and so I mixed them together with that song I wrote, in the Moonlight. And then of course in the bridge you hear a bit of the Queen influence in there as well. So that's what I do. It's not for everybody, but what I like to do is mix all of my influences together as best I can, to make my own sound.
Amazing.
Joanne, you have another question?
Yeah, I mean, on that note, you've got so many influences. You talk about Marilyn Manson and Queen and the musical theater, which I also came from, and
yeah,
you choose what you're putting into a show. You're pulling from everywhere. It's fantastic. And so you just how do you choose?
How do you choose? Well, I mean, like, I never really sit down and say, like, I don't sit down with an idea and say, all right, now let me see if I can make this happen. It just, I mean, like, there's been moments where nothing comes, and that's okay too. Really, I always like try to tell people, if you're having trouble writing something or coming up with arrangement ideas or whatever, clean your house. And don't like, I would say, like, the phone is really a dangerous thing, because we just find ourselves, when you go on social media just to kill time, or turn on a TV because you're bored. I would say turn all that shit off. And listening to records is what I just put on records or pieces that I've never heard. Classical radio is constantly playing in our house. But to be alone with your thoughts is super important. And that is the best, that boredom, that leisure time. And when you're also like doing something like cleaning your house or doing something, a mindless task, is where I found those ideas they just pop into your head. And when you get a kooky idea, no matter how weird it is, you follow that through, like go on that journey, let your subconscious take the wheel for a bit. So it's not like there's no secret to this, really. But the hard part is meditation, kind of letting your subconscious just go with you. But what another cool thing, if you're having trouble, is put like all your favorite things in a hat, all your favorite music, like anything from Ella Fitzgerald to Bob Dylan to Bach, and put it all in a hat, and take out 2 random names in the hat. And then maybe start. That could be a fun way to start there, just as an exercise. It doesn't have to become anything. But okay, so I picked up Ella Fitzgerald and Bob Dylan. How the hell am I going to put that together?
You
know what I mean?
Yes, you want to mix everything.
Yeah,
just mix everything. Music is the music everywhere. Okay.
Will guide you. Something will guide you.
Yeah, and even then another thing is like
universe.
But yeah, but what also like looking, don't be so like if you're hearing so much Ella and you're like, how do I break out of this and put this Bob Dylan tune in there? I'm just using that as an example. Look at just the sheet music of a Bob Dylan song. Don't listen to the recording when you're looking at it. Just look at what the music is, the sheet music. And sometimes looking at the bare bones of the song, the melody and the lyric, forget about the arrangement, forget about the instrumentation and the recording. Don't let that get into your head too much. Just let the plain, simple melody and lyric guide you, and sit at the piano and come up with reharms, or play a Bob Dylan tune with a jazz or band, whatever. I'm saying, like, put it in a situation that it doesn't belong in everybody else's terms, and just see what happens. You can be really pleasantly surprised.
What about instrument? Do you play an instrument, a lot of instrument? Or what relation do you have with the piano? Sometimes you spend one day with the piano, or yeah.
Yeah, every vocalist should play an instrument, and I think piano is fantastic. Guitar is good. A chordal instrument. Every vocalist should play a chordal instrument. That doesn't mean they have to play on their show and perform it, but it's seeing. Right, for me, it's piano, because that's made sense to me. Seeing, it's the orchestra. In your left hand, you have the bass, and the cellos, and then the right hand, you've got, in the middle is woodwinds. Right hand, you've got the strings. Whatever it is. That's the orchestra there. But if you play guitar too, that's fine. That's never made sense to me. But this I can't play guitar. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't make sense. But also playing a horn, a wind instrument of some sorts too, or string, just a solo instrument like trumpet or violin or saxophone. Especially wind instruments are helpful for singers because of the breath. That playing trumpet has helped my breath support really drastically. And I tell instrumentalists, you should frickin' sing. It goes both ways, I think if we can, the more we can put ourselves, my partner is a drummer, so sometimes I get to do little drum lessons or something with him, and just being able to, I tap dance as well. So when you can feel rhythm in every limb of your body like that, to be able to isolate rhythm in your hands and feet, super helpful. I think it's really important. And piano has been an important writing tool as well. I write differently at the piano than when I do just sitting at, on a laptop with my head, what's in my head.
Okay, Joanne, you have a question?
What do you play, Joanne and Kristin? Do you guys play instruments?
Little bit piano, of course, and I do the I began with the trombone, but now I do it with my you know what, mouth. And I do a trombone solo at when I sing, yes, because I like the phrasing. And my friend, she plays a little bit piano too.
And
Joanne, what do you play?
Percussion lessons. That's my thing at the moment, is rhythm.
Rhythm is key, man. Rhythm is you can have the prettiest voice and the most beautiful tone, but if you don't have the strong sense of rhythm and phrasing, it's like you've lost. There's nothing to grab onto for me. Like, especially with jazz music in particular, it's all rhythm is king.
I saw you are a huge leader on the stage, and you want to keep the tempo, and that's very important for you, for the group to have a super beat. I felt that,
Oh well, yeah. I mean, it's always cool when there's. I don't mind a little tempo fluctuation when it gets a little faster to create, as long as it's like creating an emotional rise or tension of some sort, and then alleviating it, or if we want to slow down the tempo to bring the energy down a bit. That's cool. It's just a matter of like being aware of that stuff, but. Definitely don't like it when songs are too slow or too fast. That can make or break a song, really, if a song is too fast or too slow.
Okay, so we can talk about Joanne with Veronica about the
I want to know, yeah.
Yeah, album. I saw the first album. You was very young. At this age, you knew a lot of jazz standard, because on the CD there are a lot of standard. Huh?
Yeah, that was where when I was 9 years old, I started singing with a youth jazz band called the Young Rascals Jazz Project, and that was a band that was touring and recorded, just every summer. When the kids weren't in school, we would go out to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Denver, Colorado, Telluride, do a little mini tour, and of course, to sing in that band, you had to sing the songs that we were playing. So I was playing trumpet too in that band. And that was just like a fun way I just liked to perform. And because of my parents and the world of jazz that they were into, that seemed to be a good a stage that was already there to.
What about the scat at this age?
Yeah, I mentioned that was like I obviously didn't have vocabulary and a knowledge of changes, but I knew the blues scale. That's a great place to start for a young person. There's infinite amounts of lines you could play on that scale alone. So and at that age, I think space was super important to. I find myself learning from my younger self, listening to my old 9-year-old solos, because there's a lot of space there. And when I started to really understand theory and vocabulary, and I could sing line after line, I wasn't giving myself space. And so I went back to 9-year-old Veronica. Was like, oh, wow, the space between the notes is more important than the notes themselves.
At what time did you read the music? At what age?
I mean, I was playing piano at like 4 or 5 years old. So, yeah, and that came from piano lessons and playing trumpet in school band at 9, 10 years old. So that was always there too. Okay, but it wasn't the main thing,
Yeah, what about the family story? Because I play with my husband, Joanne, she sings with her daughter, and you sung with your father.
And my mother too.
And your mother.
Yeah, my dad was I played with my dad all the time growing up, that was, my parents were on tour. They would bring me on the road with them, and I'd come up and sing some songs here and there, and then I became a part of the show. It was the Family O'Brien show. My dad, Hot O'Brien. Now I went by Veronica Swift because my father was adopted, so his biological mother was Swift. That's why I chose that name, and my mom used her maiden name. So it's ironic because it's called the Family O'Brien, and yet we all had different last names. But we were all related, I promise.
Joanne, do you have a question?
On that theme with the family connection, I mean, there was never a time when you thought, no, I don't want to do music. I want to go work in a bank. I mean, you always knew that was where you needed to be. Yeah?
I think if you're an artist, you know it. I mean, like you may not explore it or have the courage in your earlier years to explore, like my mom did. And my mom was on Wall Street. She was a banker. She was on Wall Street, but then she met my dad. And some people, it's like once it clicks, it clicks. But for people, I think for me, it was like that was always going to be the path. You know, a lot of artists you meet, that's like kind of, you just know. It's like there was no other way to live.
Yeah, okay.
No other option.
The album The Bitter Earth, it's about the society, the sexism, racism, and social issues. You want what was the spirit of this album, especially The Bitter Earth? The spirit,
Yes.
it's different from the other. This one, this Bitter Earth.
Well, I mean, I did the first. I mean, when I got signed to Mac Avenue, that's the jazz label. The first record was okay. Here's just this is my coming out into the world. Hello, my name is Veronica Swift, and I chose Standards and other obscure tunes that told the story of like being young and moving to New York, and that's the narrative album. That the first album has always got to be kind of the narrative, personal narrative. Hello, my name is.
Okay.
The second album was that was my response to what I was noticing happening. It was right around the time of COVID, so that was the COVID album. I know we all have one, right? Whether it's what we listened to or created, we had our COVID album. And ironically, I recorded those songs before COVID happened. Interestingly enough, what I was singing about I just noticed the patterns getting worse and worse, and unfortunately, we're just getting worse and worse now. I'm considering moving out to France because I'm not really liking what I'm seeing back here at home. It's pretty sad. World's a scary place, but hopefully the end of the album, the song Sing, which was a song that changed my life by the Dresden Dolls, very important band to me. That was how I got to meet Brian, which shaped my entire future from there on. So This Bitter Earth is an extremely important album for me personally because it's how I met Brian, my partner, my drummer and producer, and co-creator of my rock band. Uh-huh. So he showed me that I have that power and strength to make the life I want to live.
Okay, Joanne.
Well, first of all, welcome if you come to Europe. We'd love to have you here and see you more often, for sure. I first saw you, I think it was in 2017, you were in the Birdland Big Band. How old were you then? You were amazing.
23, I think, 23.
Yeah. And yeah, everything that you've done, you're just going in so many directions and growing and evolving. It's amazing. Your shows are very physical and very... you put a lot of energy into the shows, both vocally and physically. How do you prepare for that to make sure that you can maintain?
How do I what?
How do you prepare for those shows?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just how I express myself. What was really hard for me about just, I couldn't just stand. I can't just stand there and sing. Like I am so physical as a person. If you know me, like I'm dancing, I'm so active, and I prepare for these shows physically by I have to be in the gym 3-4 times a week and the pool twice a week. Keeping my body healthy and strong, and keeping it so that I can, especially with the rock and roll shows that I do with Dame, my rock band. At any age, you have to. I mean, you can't let your body like. That's our body is our instrument. Our instrument is our body. Like how we are in the rest of our body, it reflects. Our instrument needs that strength and that healthy kind of that vigor. So I go to the gym. Also, the practicing too. There's exercises that I do for keeping my my instrument healthy and strong as well. I rest. I also have to give time to rest, and that goes from the hardest part is mental rest, because unfortunately, being an independent artist in this time, you have to do everything, and that takes every ounce and every minute of your time to taking meetings with the distribution label, taking meetings with this. I don't have management. I don't have a record label. It's all me. So really structuring in that mental rest time is so important. And I'm still figuring that part out. That's the hard part for me.
Okay. Okay. You like Freddie Mercury, and but you also like Duke Ellington. So what about Freddie Mercury? You love these singers? Ah, I know. It's written on your arms. Yes.
Yeah.
At what age do you discover this singer?
When I was about, I mean, it started. My mom was sharing with me music of her time. You know, she's born in '54, so she wasn't listening to rock music. She was more like Carly Simon and James Taylor. But she knew that she could see where my inclination was going towards like rock. So she showed me Deep Purple. She showed me the Beatles. She showed me Beach Boys. She gave me some records and CDs of compilations of all the bands from that time. And when I heard Queen and I saw how they like brought classical music and 20s kind of British music hall and jazz, 20s jazz and blues into the rock and roll sphere, but with that performance style, with that voice that he had. Because I loved Zeppelin, I loved Aerosmith, I love all those other singers, but Freddie's voice felt the most natural when I was singing along to it. I said, wow, I feel like I'm in his mouth as I sing. It was the natural, that was the voice that I could communicate with and gravitate towards. It's really him and Liza Minnelli, the two of them put together. That's where actually because just because I scat, people will say, "Oh, you're like Ella Fitzgerald, you're like this," but really, it's Freddie and Liza that I draw the most inspiration from vocally, and also performance-wise. That's when I watched him perform. That was what felt natural to me. That style, when we're younger, we always mimicking our heroes, right? And I would do Michael Jackson. I would mimic,
Michael
all my
Jackson.
heroes, all my heroes. But Freddie and Liza were the two that was like what I felt like I was in their bodies, really. So that was, whoa, that's cool. What is that feeling? And so just exploring that and really getting into the nitty gritty of how he shapes his vowels and how he spins his vibrato at the end and the breath, the breath release towards the ends of his phrases, oh, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So getting into like subtle, I just love that.
He was a superstar. He was a great singer.
But he was really just so himself up there, and that was like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. He was the first one that showed me that that's what I want to do, right up there.
Yeah. So I agree completely. The body is the instrument, the whole of the body, and it's a full-time job keeping everything in working order. We're getting a little bit older and things are changing in the voice. How much time do you spend vocally keeping your actual vocal cords and your breathing in the right shape, shall we say? That's
yeah, I mean, I spend about like 15 minutes every day or so just to keep it. When I actually do most of my vocal warm-ups and exercises, it's for me 15 minutes is just about enough time, because any more than that's what my exercises take about that much time. And the cool down is just as important, if not more important, after a show. Of course, I have to do it after I've talked to people at the merch line, because I pretty much right after I perform on stage, I go to the merch table, say hello to everybody. My voice is still placed at that kind of performance positioning. If I cool it down, then I can't talk loud. I have to. That cool down is so important. So after I've spoken to people at the merch table, I go backstage and I do my cool downs. People talk about warm ups and all that kind of stuff, but cool down is just as important.
Oh yes. And just a question: did you think before the show? Did you think you show in your head? Or you arrive on the stage and everything is natural?
Both. It's both of those. I'm not planning my.
You rehearse what? The music or everything?
Yeah, no, rehearse. I rehearse the music, and I don't rehearse where I'm standing or what. I have little ideas of what I want to do, especially with the Dame show, which is much more theatrical. There's props and whatnot. So if there's like, for example, in the rock and roll show, I have like the bowl of glitter. I know exactly where in the song I'm going to throw the glitter, right? Stuff like that. But I don't plan, I'm going to stand here at this song. It's not a musical in that way. Like, it's not specific blocking, but that's just, if we do that, if everything is planned, then it's not jazz or rock and roll anymore. And when I say that, I mean, jazz is, the essence of jazz to me is improvisation. That's what sets it apart, makes it different from other genres, is that, and that doesn't mean you have to scat and improvise that way, but it's improvising in the moment. It's being in the moment. That's an in the moment style of music. So it's very live. Like, I can't imagine recording a jazz album piece instrument by instrument. That's not jazz to me. Rock and roll is, of course, like, kind of rides on both of those lines, but in terms of like how mainstream music is made and the improvisational. But rock and roll is, to me, that improvisational spirit comes from like the energy of the crowd. You're reading the crowd and giving what if they're not quite there, you got to assess, okay, what am I doing energy wise? How can I spin the energy of this room and use it to.
When you arrived on the stage, you gave a kind of big wave, during 1 hour, and after that's very good when you sing very, very slowly. You like to sing ballad, very slow ballad.
It's storytelling, man. It's, you have to ride that wave. It's take people on a journey. It's not all up here or all down here. You can put a couple ballads next to each other in a set. As long
as the rhythm for your repertoire. Yes, the different tempo you choose that.
Yeah, but number one, what dictates what I choose for an album track listing or repertoire in a show is the story. It's always story first, for me, and it's okay to have two ballads next to each other. But as long as you have a reason for it, and pay attention to tempo, variety, and what are the keys? Did the keys go into each other? That's just an extra added thing. It's cool if, like this song ends on the 5 of the next song is or something. Like looking at chords, kind of. Are there key changes in a song? And if so, what kind of key changes? What does that add to the energy? But always story first. What does this serve the story? How does this serve the story of the show?
Okay, Joanne?
Yeah, fascinating. Thank you for that. I've been watching some little clips of videos you do on Instagram where you talk about the audience, and there was one I found very helpful. I sang yesterday, and you talked about sometimes the audience isn't reacting as you're singing, but don't worry about that because maybe they're absorbing it. And I always find myself watching people go, "Oh God, she doesn't like it. Oh, let people sleep." But I was thinking, the advice that Veronica gave is that maybe just absorbing it. And so those are really interesting.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad that it kind of helped you. Yeah. When if I see somebody who's like that, my inclination is to sing to them and make them feel that I'm really like, I see you, not I see you, you not. No, it's not like that. It's like, I'm singing to you because you're right. Yeah. There's something, whether they're not into it or whether they really aren't into it or whether they're just taking it in. That's how I kind of place myself above my self-conscious shit that's happening in my head.
Really helpful, and also where to look. You can't always look in one place. Maybe you're looking up, but is it third person? Is it to the person? That was also very helpful.
Yeah, but like I said, it always comes back to the story. Is that serving the lyric right? That guides you.
It's all about the story. Yeah.
Okay, I saw that you play with Emmett Cohen. We like this pianist, but Benny Green too. That's two different styles. But what about Emmett Cohen? I don't know him, but he's always happy, and he has also a lot of energy. And what about? Can you tell me some things about this super pianist?
Yeah, Emmett has a huge, respect for like the great trios and musicians of, he knows just as many tunes, if not more tunes, than a lot of the singers that I know. He really listens to a lot of, like you do, as your job is especially as a jazz musician, rock musician too. Your job is to really know the music that you're playing, know where you come from, and Emmett certainly knows where he comes from musically. He listens to so much music, and he's like a library. So that's how we found each other, like kindred spirits in that way. We both loved the singer Mildred Bailey, who I love Mildred Bailey. Not a lot of people know about her. So singers like that found to be obscure. Emmett knew those singers and, recordings. And yeah, so that was what brought us together. Of course, I wanted to, every jazz vocalist needs to have their accompanist, right? That's super important relationship. And even better if that accompanist has their own trio, because then that accompanist comes with their own sound. And that's super important to like create, a band kind of unity. So Emmett had a trio, and it was like at that time I think it was Kyle Poole and Russell Hall, and then it was Yasushi Nakamura and Brian Carter. So those first two records I used Emmett's trio. We were touring together all the time, and just by being together in close quarters on tour a lot, you create arrangements kind of on the spot, and develop arrangements on the road as you go, and things change. Like I was playing with a trio not too long ago and using a chart that I used to play with Emmett, and the chart itself was from 2018, when those days the arrangement had developed naturally. I didn't go back to change the chart, so I was like, oh shit, I just realized like how much music was happening off the page, with Emmett. So that was cool.
Yeah, that is the problem, that the arrangements evolve. I have the same some arrangements, and they've evolved, and then we've added things, and oh shit, I've got to get them rewritten.
Yeah. But I actually I like to sometimes go back to the original chart, because then when you bring it to a new trio, they'll bring something different to it. And that's why I like playing with Matisse Picard now, for that reason. And Julius Rodriguez, they just bring something different to this music. And Matisse comes from, whereas like I meant, like he knew so much music in the jazz realm, and so does Matisse, but Matisse is coming from so many different genres. And that's where, like, at this time in my life, that's what I was really needing, was to play with an accompanist who comes from many genres in that way, authentically and genuinely.
Okay, you have 31 years old, yeah, 31. Okay, so just to know, what about do you have time for your personal life?
Yeah, sure.
You are very busy. How do you organize your life, in fact?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at health, partners, I mean, obviously I don't need to make time for my partner and we're in this together, where he plays drums in my jazz band and we have our rock band together. We're always touring together, so that's good there. We're solid there. The thing I've had to make time for is not just rest, but friends. That's something that has always kind of been an afterthought, which is unfortunate, because that community, that's where you get energy from. I've found I don't get energy from, I get excited about my creative projects and what I'm working on with my band, but the real like energy from like feeling a part of the world, the greater common man in the world, that's going out and hanging out with friends. And I've had to really work hard because I'm a workaholic. I will just work and work and work and work and not go out, and I just stay in the house, and it's not good. So I've had to really work on that, hanging out with my friends, because all my friends are in the industry too. They're working too, like as much. But yeah, it's just something like we have to all work on, really.
Well, yeah. Which countries have you already performed in, and which country have you not performed in, and where would you like to perform? I mean, you must have performed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been to France a whole bunch, all over, and that country has sort of adopted me. I'm honored to say that's become a second home, right? Even though I really don't speak French so well, I can't, it's so hard for me I can speak Italian, I can speak Spanish, I can, but I gotta get into French more. I promise I will, Kristin. But I've been to Switzerland. Love Switzerland. I would love to go there more. I've only been there twice for shows. We did Samaritz last year, and then I did Bern a while ago, Marion's, which was amazing. So we love Switzerland. Love Germany too. Oh man, I can't wait to go back there. I would like more. I mean, Italy's Spain and Italy. Spain's starting to go there more. So I'm really excited about Spain. Italy is a weird one because I feel there's a lot of very especially in the jazz world, a lot of more traditional approach to like, I find it hard to get over there to Italy for shows. I don't know why. It's kind of hard to get there. I think it's more on the traditional kind of side of things. So, but I would like to. I mean, Italy is so important to me. I've used to go there in Florence and do big orchestra shows before COVID. So I have a huge group of friends out there in Firenze and Umbria especially. So
Umbria.
I would like to, if I would live anywhere in the world, it would probably be either there or maybe somewhere near La Petite Pierre, which is where we played last month. Beautiful. I'm a mountain person, so.
But in Annecy and Switzerland, you have mountains. It's
I
okay.
know. I can't afford Switzerland. Sorry.
Okay, so the last question. Everything is very interesting. What are your upcoming projects?
Yeah, well, as I've mentioned, and if you follow me on Instagram, you can see I've got two different projects going on simultaneously. The Veronica Swift world will continue on in the jazz and jazz adjacent way, and I have a record coming out next year that I'm doing in New York in December, a jazz album with some kind of folk Appalachian roots influence, because that's where I come. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you're from New York." I've only lived in New York for 1 year of my life. I'm not New York.
And do you like New Orleans? Do you like New Orleans?
I love New Orleans. Of course, I haven't spent much time there, but I'm from Virginia, and Appalachian music, folk music is really a huge part of what I am too, and I've not had a chance to share that. So I'm going to do a jazz trio record with some Appalachian influence. That record's coming out next year. And then my brand new rock and roll, all original project, Dame, which is its own universe. We call it the Damedom. And it's like paying homage to the great women of, powerful women like Joan of Arc and Olympe de Gouges, a lot of French women, Josephine Baker and Julie d'Aubigny, a lot of these stories of these women that have stood the test of time, and my story is just amongst theirs, and your story is amongst theirs. We all have one. And so that's the Project Dame. That's the rock and roll, powerful, theatrical rock music.
Actually, you live in LA?
I do.
Why do you live in LA?
Because LA is the best. That's why. LA rocks. New York sucks. I hated New York. LA, no, the reason why I say that is because like New York is so geographically so small, and everybody's just like climbing on top of each other, and it's all territorial and for no reason, because it's like there was not, for me, a strong sense of community there. Emmett created a beautiful community. It was like a nice oasis in New York, but I didn't feel that New York was just a kind of like very insular, a lot of small niche insular pockets. Whereas for me, LA is so big geographically. It's huge. This city is huge. And there's room for everybody, and it's much more altruistic and kind of like, if in New York I was looking for a studio or a photographer, a lot of people in New York would be like, that's my photographer. Like, you can't work with him. That's my busking spot. That's the studio I go to. But in LA, I found it's like, oh, you need a photographer? I got a guy. I could put you in touch with him. It's much more sharing, community-based. So I love LA.
Question. We are women, so just a question about your style. Okay, I love your picture. We know Matt Baker and blah blah blah, the photograph.
Blah blah blah.
But what do you want? A special style? What about your style?
Well, anyone who knows me knows that I kind of sit on both ends of the gender spectrum. I'm very androgynous too. I love to wear a gown here and there, but I really feel comfortable kind of in my my boy clothes too. Like I want to, but I also love wearing period clothing, like not, you could say costumes, but it really is like, I like to wear period clothing from the 18th century and powdered wigs. And I like to step into these past lives of these awesome characters.
You have nice shops in New Orleans, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And New Orleans, especially vintage. But when I say vintage, I mean like hundreds of years ago. I love to wear chainmail as well. I just think that for me, it's an extension of what I do. It's not a costume. It's not a put on. It's just natural for me to wear this kind of stuff because it tells a story.
Let's tell a story. Okay. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you so much for taking the time
Oh,
for this interview. Maybe
thanks for the
one day,
questions. I mean,
oh, hey, and you know what? Maybe one day you will be a mother. It's another function, huh?
not for me.
Not for you.
It's
Okay.
okay. I mean, I love my family. My cousins are all having children. I'm so happy for them. But I've kind of when I was very, very young, I knew I didn't want to be a mother. And people always laugh, make fun of me, say, "Oh, well, someday."
But now you know.
I know now, and Brian and I feel the same way. We've both have this strong duty to the music that we create, and I also know that functionally, like I saw the sacrifice that my parents made for me, and I wouldn't be here for that sacrifice. So I'm very blessed and grateful. But I know that my duty, my purpose on this earth is different in that way. So I have my students. I have our band members
But
are all in their.
you teach too?
I do, yeah.
Ah,
So
you have
that's
time to
kind of
teach? Do you have time to teach?
when I'm off the road, I find time because that's important. Like I said, you make time for friends, and there's always time for
You
somebody.
teach at home? You teach at home or in a studio?
I teach on like Zoom and Google Meet, and
Okay.
video. It's a lot of students from Europe actually and South America, which
My
I
daughter,
have yet
my
to.
daughter loves you. She's just entering bachelor degree in jazz, and I'm gonna contact you for a lesson.
Oh, really? That's amazing. She mentioned it. You guys perform together. You sing
Yeah, yeah,
stage together.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay. Well, we hope, Joanne and I think we hope to see you on stage very soon, huh? Parce que we are
I
fans.
hope so. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
coming
yes.
back to France next month. So
Yes,
if you
yes, yes. We organize. Yes, she organize. She have connection with festival in Switzerland and us in France. Okay, we can organize something. So it was Vue International sur le jazz with Veronica Swift. Send you a big hug. Okay. Bye,
love
Joanne.
love
Bye,
from
Veronica.
love
See
to my
you
European
on
friends. Love
the
you
planet.
guys.
See you soon on the planet. Ciao,
Yeah,
Bella.
we'll see you next
Ciao,
time.
Bella.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao. Ciao.
so much.